The evaporation is complete. The man is no longer there, only his absence remains, a silent void where he once sat, worked, existed. His clothes, now empty and limp, are all that's left, a hollow testament to the body that once filled them. His wife, practical and unshaken, does not weep, does not cry out in grief or confusion. Instead, she moves with a quiet efficiency, as though this disappearance were merely another household chore to be dealt with. She gathers his discarded garments, folds them with the same care she might give to laundry on any other day, and tucks them away into a suitcase. There is no ceremony, no hesitation, just the mechanical act of tidying up, of erasing the evidence of a man who was, and no longer is. Nearby, their child plays undisturbed. The loss of a parent, a presence that should have been foundational, irreplaceable, registers no more than a change in the weather. Toys are stacked, imaginary worlds are built, and life, in all its mundane rhythm, continues without pause. There is no lingering glance at the empty chair, no childish questions about where Daddy has gone. The evaporation is accepted as fact, as unremarkable as a cloud passing overhead. The world outside does not react. Neighbors do not come knocking, concerned. The phone does not ring with frantic calls from friends or co-workers wondering where he has gone. The streets remain busy with people who do not know, who would not care even if they did. Society, with all its noise and motion, does not stutter in the face of this vanishing. It simply moves on, indifferent, as it always does. This is the true horror of the aftermath. Not the evaporation itself, but the chilling ease with which the world absorbs it. A man has ceased to exist, and nothing has changed. His family does not mourn because they do not seem to recognize that there is anything to mourn. His absence is not a wound. It is a non-event. The suitcase full of clothes is not a shrine, but a storage problem. The child's play is not a distraction from grief, but proof that grief is unnecessary. Barthelme's genius here is in the understatement. He does not dramatize the loss because the point is that it isn't dramatic. The man's evaporation is treated with the same emotional weight as a spilled glass of water, something to be wiped up and forgotten. The scene forces us to ask, is this all we are? Flesh that can vanish, lives that can be erased, with no more consequence than a sigh dissolving into the air? The aftermath is not about the man who disappeared. It is about those who remain, and what their indifference says about the fragility of human connection. A person can be reduced to mist, and the world will not even blink. The man is gone, and yet he is not gone. He has passed through the membrane of solidity into something else, an ethereal awareness untethered from the body that once anchored him to the world. He does not float so much as linger, a consciousness diffused like smoke, hovering at the edges of rooms he once inhabited, drifting down streets he once walked. He is not a ghost. There is no haunting here, no echo of unfinished business. He is something far more unsettling, a presence that has been rendered irrelevant. He tries to speak, to call out to his wife, his child, the strangers passing by, but his voice has evaporated along with his flesh. No sound forms. No one turns their head. He reaches out with hands that are no longer hands, and the world does not yield to his touch. He is not so much invisible as unnoticed, a whisper lost in the wind. The living move through him as though he were nothing more than a trick of the light, a fleeting disturbance in the air. He watches his wife move through her days, efficient and unburdened. She does not pause at the door, listening for footsteps that will never come. She does not wake in the night, reaching for a warmth that is no longer there. His child grows, unfolds, becomes someone new, someone who never glances backward, never wonders. The man is not a memory. He is an absence so complete it ceases to register as absence at all. And yet, he is. He exists in this liminal space, a sentience without a shell, a witness to his own erasure. He sees the world continue in its rhythms, lovers kissing on park benches, workers rushing to jobs, children laughing in yards, and he understands, with a quiet, crushing clarity, that he was never necessary to any of it. Life does not require him. There is no anger in this realization, no despair. There is only the slow, suffocating understanding that he has become what all men fear most, forgotten before he is even gone. And so he drifts, neither alive nor dead, but something in between, a breath held too long, a shadow that no light casts. The world does not miss him because the world has already moved on. The man is thinning now. What little cohesion remained, the faintest impression of self, the last stubborn particles of identity, are coming undone. He is no longer mist, no longer even vapor. He is becoming something less than that, a thought that refuses to take shape, a silence between heartbeats. There is no body left to dissolve, only the slow unraveling of awareness itself. He drifts through the city, or perhaps the city drifts through him. Buildings pass like dreams. People flicker in and out of his perception, their lives burning bright and brief as match flames. He tries to remember his own name, his own face, but these things are slipping away, not with violence, but with the quiet inevitability of sand through fingers. He is not afraid. Fear requires a self to feel it, and he is no longer certain he has one. The world does not acknowledge this final fading. Cars still honk. Birds still slice through the air. A couple argues on a street corner, their voices sharp with the urgency of those who still exist enough to be heard. The man wants to laugh, or maybe cry, but he has no mouth, no lungs, no tears. He is becoming less a being than an absence shaped like one, a silhouette cut from the fabric of nothingness. And then, one moment, he thinks, was I ever here at all? The question lingers, unanswered, because in the end, there is no one left to answer it, not even him. His final thought, if it can be called a thought, is neither profound nor tragic. It is simply this, a faint pulse of recognition that soon, even this dissolving consciousness will be gone. And then, at last, he isn't. The air does not stir, the world does not pause. Somewhere, his wife shakes out a tablecloth. His child, older now, always older, laughs at something no one else can hear. And the space where the man once was is just space again. Empty, unremarkable, as if it had never been otherwise. The opening scene of The Man Who Evaporated begins with unsettling mundanity. A man, unnamed, stripped of any defining characteristics beyond his role as a husband and father, sits at his desk, engaged in some vague, everyday task. There is no warning, no build-up. One moment he is solid, tangible, occupying space in the world like any other person, and the next, his body begins to dissolve. Not violently, not painfully, but quietly, inevitably, as if the universe had simply forgotten to sustain his physical form. His flesh turns to mist, a fine, almost imperceptible vapor, leaving behind only the hollow shape of his clothing, now empty, collapsed in on itself like a shed skin. His wife and child witness this, yet their reactions are disturbingly passive. There is no screaming, no frantic attempts to grasp at the dissipating particles of him. They watch, perhaps with mild curiosity, perhaps with resignation, as if this evaporation were merely an odd but expected phenomenon, like watching steam rise from a cup of tea. The wife, practical in her detachment, later gathers his abandoned clothes and folds them neatly into a suitcase, an act both mundane and funereal. The child, equally undisturbed, continues playing nearby, as though the absence of a father is no more remarkable than the absence of a stray sock. This scene is a masterful stroke of existential horror, not in the traditional sense of monsters or violence, but in its quiet unraveling of the self. The man's evaporation is not just physical, it is metaphysical. He ceases to be, and the world does not protest. His family does not mourn, they adjust. The horror lies in the implication that existence is a fragile contract, one that can be voided without fanfare. If a man can vanish without leaving so much as a ripple in the lives of those closest to him, then what does it mean to be at all? Barthelme's prose here is deliberately flat, almost clinical, heightening the absurdity. The man does not die. He is not granted the dignity of a clear end. Instead, he unbecomes, slipping out of reality as effortlessly as a sigh. The scene forces the reader to confront a chilling question. If I evaporated, would anyone notice? And worse, would anyone care? This moment sets the tone for the rest of the story, where the man's disappearance is not a tragedy, but an inevitability, not a disruption, but a quiet correction. The world continues, indifferent. The man is gone, and nothing has changed. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next one. Bye for now.